What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today, BTC USD. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. All right, it is the 5th day of May today. We got a little bit of a neutral stance right now on the day, down 0.12%. Here we are at about $94,181 right now. 9 hours, 52 minutes left in the day here. If we're looking at this from an overall low here to a high, using our Fibonacci retracement tool, let me just delete that real quick. Uh, the path ahead of us would call for a move that's either down to about 91.8 thousand or more likely something around 88.2 thousand. It's very common. Let's start with this actually. It's very uncommon to just bounce off your 236. Generally, when you consolidate, if you bounce off this, okay, cool, but you tend to bounce off it on a path that takes you lower. It's very uncommon to bounce and then see new highs, okay? To be fair, from a relative low to a relative high here, that's exactly what we did. So it happens. It's uncommon though. I'm telling you, it's uncommon. Will it happen twice in a row? Maybe. I don't know if I've ever seen that happen before, but probably the most likely outcome would be that we go to the 382. Could Bitcoin pull all the way back down to its golden ratio, the 618 area? Absolutely, it could. That's a price between about, what is that? That's about 82.7K to 81.3K. Yeah, anything and everything in between is possible between there and $88,000. But these are the targets that I'm focusing on for now. If and when we close a day below $88,000, we can start talking about these targets. But likely Bitcoin does hold support at about 88,000. That's the expectation at the moment. Now, on the daily RSI, what we have here is a lower low, right? You can see that these lows are getting lower, relatively speaking, and we do have higher lows in the price. That is a good thing. It's actually a hidden bullish divergence. It generally does suggest continuation, but we have to get a green day to confirm that. And as long as we're closing red days, this will keep moving down. The price will keep moving down if and when we close a price below this day here, because that day right there, that's the low. This is another low. If and when we close any days below these levels here, specifically below about 93.4K, when we close below there, that likely will signal that this is not hidden bullish divergence. It's actually a rolling over from the RSI being in the overbought zone to correcting. Now likely well, I would say, I mean, we could bounce here. We're at the 60, to be fair, but likely we'd go down to the 50 or the 40. Somewhere in this kind of area here, this area here. That's where we bounce from, one of those 2 points. We're not near those points yet. Being at the 60, I will say, does give us an opportunity to bounce, but being that we've got 9 hours and 50 minutes left in the day, if we were at a prime bounce spot, why haven't we bounced yet? You know what I mean? I mean, we still have a lot of time left in the day. Let's see how it goes, but my expectation is that we're going lower. That's why I started off the video that way. Looking at the 4-hour time frame here, 4-hour RSI definitely sucks. It looks like it wants to go down. Lower highs, lower lows, the whole shebang. You got a little taste of the oversold zone, but generally speaking, when you get oversold like that, if you reject it like that, you want to pursue readings above the 40. If you just reject the 40, that's not a good thing, right? This is a bullish case right here, and you soiled it. You know what I mean? So you're probably, all this means then is that you're just checking back on an overall path to the downside, and I do think that's what's about to happen. I think we're grinding out this level just before a breakout, and we're going to break out to the downside here. Looking at the 1-hour time frame, 1-hour RSI also sucks. It's a bit neutral, but with a bearish tilt, for sure, a bearish tilt there. There's no bullish divergence, no bullish divergence at all. You did get a lot of volume to bring you down here, and you've got a lot of volume down at these lows. Perhaps, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, perhaps you have some kind of double bottom going on, and you could recover a little bit. Don't get too excited. You know, if we're at 94K now, don't get excited if we're above 95K or even above 96K. We can go up and still come down. You know what I mean? Like that's not crazy at all. In fact, if we're looking at this, taking this into consideration, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, who's to say that this is a relative low at all? You know, but if we moved up here and found resistance at the 382, that's pretty common to do. If we went to the golden ratio, that's pretty common to do on the way down. So we can still see some volatility over the coming hours. Though looking at the 4-hour RSI, I would doubt that we would see anything that's really like above 95.7K, if that even. But I'll tell you what, if we can get above 95.7K, we can start talking about the potential that this is the low and that we are going higher if we can get above 95.7K. Not so much because it's the zero point 0.5 on the fibs. That's not the significance here. It's more that this is kind of the area that we broke down from and we found resistance on before. So I think getting above that would be somewhat significant. Okay, you can see that we broke down from here. We checked back, and then boom, lift off, but to the downside. I guess drop off. But But there's those targets there. Looking at this on a weekly basis, overall, the short term looks a little bit bearish, temporarily speaking. We had a bearish close last week. I think that's going to signal some bearish things this week. We've only just begun. We got 6 days, 9 hours left in this week here, or 10 hours or 9 hours and 50 minutes left, whatever. But on the weekly time frame, so in the short term, we're probably going to go down. But on the weekly time frame, we found support at this area before, found support at this area before. We found support just now. Each time it sent us to the overbought zone very, very promptly. I think we're on our way there. And generally speaking, whenever we get to the overbought zone on the weekly RSI, if we look at this like this here, let me just put this on there. This was the week before we got overbought. This was the week before we got overbought. So the last 2 times that we saw overbought zones on the RSI, what was the week before we got overbought like? Well, it was somewhat good, and then boom, the rest of it, the rest is history. We started to grow at a rapid pace here, right? We were growing into it, but then once we got overbought, essentially, it was nonstop growth. I say nonstop, but we did consolidate for like a month. Here, same thing. Once we got overbought, it was just upside until the move was over. So we're not even at the overbought zone yet. Bitcoin is from a low to a high. It has moved up 31%. Overall, it's up 26% right now from its relative low. I do believe that we have more to go, and where that's going to take us, probably somewhere above 120. I would think $130,000 to $140,000 by the end of this month of May. That's the call. That's been the call since the 1st of May, right? That's the expectation. Do we get there by the end of May or not? I don't care one way or another, but I do think that there is a sense of urgency. I don't care if by the end of May we're at 120K, we're at 140K, maybe we're way past that, whatever it is. There's a sense of urgency right now, or at least there should be. And don't let the short-term stuff confuse you or get you distracted, right? Because on a weekly basis, week by week is what this means. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to see some growth. And once we get into the overbought zone, it's really going to be spectacular. We're super close. I mean, we're just below the 60 here. We might check back, find support at the 50, and then move up. Something like that could happen. But inevitably, I do believe once we get here, that's when the real ignition is going to start to this move, right? We're just priming right now. We're testing out the waters. We're seeing how we handle, and we're probably going to check back here, find support, and then once we get into that overbought zone, it's really going to take off. Once we're at new all-time highs, it's really going to take off. That combination together, I definitely am expecting 130 to 140K. I'm leaning more toward 140K by the end of the month, but for the time being, 94K now. We will likely see lower targets today, lower targets tomorrow, and maybe even perhaps the next couple of days after that. But I got nothing else for you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves, and bye-bye. This is not me saying sell. I am not selling any cryptos. That's not what's happening. I've got buy orders ready to buy at lower prices. That's all that means, right? I'm not selling here. I'm just waiting to buy at lower prices. That's it. Okay, take care.